Okay, we're holding here Maamar in the middle of the Inyan. It says Mischara Neda Mahusat. So, haben a Klarkeit, what's the Nekudas HaChassidus? I'm free of verstehen, what's Inyona Pnimi of Mashiach. So there was a fire that verschiedene Inyonim Nifloim the Mashiach is going to be was geht Uftam, Shiurim in Welt, and Shiurim Nifloim in all Elamis, but that's all, nicht in dem Mashiach was Mashiach is. Mashiach's Inyan is not to be pile great revolutions in Elamis. Adach, like the Rebbe said before, when you get to Torah. Elamis are taka davar nifla, but the Gabi Elokus kulak mikolachshiv. The Gabi the Eibishter himself, the whole Metzias Elamis is kolachshiv the Gabi the Eibishter. So you'd be mafli chassidus with that the Aveda Bir Amidus is in a whole different life. The Gabi Ein Sof, the Metzias of the Avedas Amidus of Nivra is kolachshiv. And the Gabi Torah, the Metzias Elam is kolachshiv. And the Gabi, see, what's the Uft of Mashiach? There's going to be a Shinuim in all the Elamis. Shinuim Achin Eflaim. There'll be Shloime HaMetzias, there'll be Shloime Gilim Alim Atava. But Elamis are Shalei Be'erech to Lukus. The Gabi Ein Sof, the Gabi Deivish, to Elamis are Shalei Be'erech. So them Zak the Rebbe, the Mashiach is a whole different Indian. Mashiach, Inyona, Ikri is that he's Yechida. And the Nekudas Yechida is, Aderech, like the Rebbe brought before, the Asis from the Rebbe Shvas Eden, that Chassidus is Amshara from Pnimis Ein Sof. Means Amshara from Elokus, the Elokus is Be'etzim, not the way Elokus is a mocker from Metzias. The way Elokus is in the Atmis of the Ein Sof. So Al Derech Zer, saying Mashiach is Yechida, is that the Mashiach at Nisgalaver and the Chayis Ha'elam. The Chayis Ha'elam is Elokus. Till Be'ez Mashiach was for a Dargin Elokus at Meir given in Welt, a Dargin Elokus which has a Shaychus to Metzias, which has a Shaychus to Tzir, which that's B'derech Klan, never Shuach Neshama Chay Yechida. Al Derech like in the Neshama Pratis, what's the Chalukah? What's the Eizgeteltkeit between Yechida and all the other Chalakim? Then all the other Chalakim are Shiurim Prati, Madreges Pratis, Inyonim Prati. Nefesh is the Kechamais of the Neshama, and Ruach is the Inyona, is Midas. Midas are a certain Inyan Prati, Inyan Mugdar. There's a relation to something in a form of Midas, in a form of Regesh. Seichel is another form of reality. Then there's an Akoda of Ibergabenkeit without limits, Ratz and Pashat. But that's also a certain Tnua of Kesher to an Inyan. A certain eifin of kesher, that you're dedicated to it without limits, you're ready to give away your life for the Inyan. You say, B'chin of Chai. Yechida is no tzura. It's the etzem ohos of iskashas talokus. Ayid is einzach mit Neibishn without a taich. So that's the Yechida in the Nefesh. Aderech we're seeking calls ha'ishtalshalos. There is the way Elokus becomes, there is the way Elokus is mislavish in a certain seer. The B'chinas Nefesh, that's the B'chinas Malchus, there is the Elokus is melubish in Zoh, which is Ruach, and then there's the Elokus is in Meichin, then the Elokus is in Keser, Chitzeni is a Keser, which that's B'derech Klal B'chinas Chaya, the Pshitas of Elokus. And like those Elokus, the Elokus is in a certain mode, and there's the way Eilamis are expressed that in you. Let's say you see, like a mashal when a nes happens. So through the fact that the Eibishter is not, does a certain anhag, which is not according to how much the Teva Elam could handle, so that expresses the fact that the Eibishter is not limited in the chukim of the mitzvahs. So a nest expresses the bligvul of Elokus. But the bligvul is also a mode. Is the fact that the Eibishter is beyond limitations. The fact that it's beyond limitations is expressed in the fact that there's anhaga which breaks the hagdaras of Elokus. And B'chinas Mayim is Megal, B'chinas HaChesed. So there's Elokus comes in a certain seer, and it's Mizgal and Elamis. So in certain tkufis, David is Mamshech B'chinas Nefesh. David is Mamshech and Elam is the B'chinas HaMalchus of Elokus. And the Gabe that there is the way Elamis are, and the way the anhaga is mitzad Sfiras HaMalchus. Shas Ayid is Meir by him. The fact that the Eibush is the Odin al Kail. So there's the way Hanhagas Elam is mitzad Sfiras HaMalchus. There's the way Hanhagas Elam is mitzad Chaya, mitzad Ruach, mitzad Neshama. Each Inyan, there's the way Mitzias Elam is, it's Bittul Telekus, or it's Hanhagas Elam is the way it expresses the B'chinas HaNeshama of Kol Seishtalshlos. But there was never a Zman where the world lived mitzad B'chinas HaYechida of Kol Seishtalshlos. B'chinas HaYechida is the etzem of Elokus. The Elokus is beyond Seer, not the Elokus is Shaykhs like a specific Seer. So Bisman as was far dark Elokus is Meir Elamis. So the world is functioning a certain way because the Chayis Elamis and Hanhagas Elamis is Neveya mitzad a certain B'chin in Elokus. It's at a certain Inyan. There is the fact that say Favasi Gevar Nayesh in order to express the Eibishter's Malchus. Why is there Alamis Vestedim? In order to express the fact that the Eibishter has the Keach HaHelam V'Hester. So there's a certain Hanhagas Elamis and Neveya mitzad Inyonim Pratim in Elokus. But that Elamis should function the way Elamis are mitzad B'chinas HaEtzem, mitzad the Atzmius of the Eibishter, the world doesn't function the way it's Tzedot Etzem in Elokus. And there is the way the Mitzias Elamis is mitzad the Atzmus. But that's not Meir in Elamis of Vanazeh. Mitzad vos farad darga. What's the anhagas ha'elam is based on, or what type of the Metzias ha'elam functions mitzad darga v'lakus, which is shayches somewhat to the tzir of the Metzias ha'elam. There's common dargas. There's man Shloime melech at Meir given a gewisse darga in lakus. Different Inyona. The uftu of Mashiach is that is going to be Welt is going to start living, and the anhagas and the Metzias ha'elam pagali is going to start. Is going to be according to the way the elements are mitzad b'chinas hayichida. That's the Nakoda what the Rebbe is saying here. The Haltman. Which word in the Pnim we're holding? No, let's see from Kumish Shulchan Neshama Pratis. Because there's Kamish Love in the Ve'on Sotech Einin, yeah? Kumish Shulchan Neshama Pratis. B'chinas hayichida nikoda ha'atzmis shel haneshama. That means not a gewisser darge, not a gewisser kaya, not a certain mode in the neshama. It's mahus. It's mahus without a mode. Kein hu ba'chayis v'haneshama shekol seishtash. Means from there's a mitzvah elements. Atzilis, bri, atzilis, sisir. There's a whole seder on hag of elements. Where do they get their energy from? Where does this all come from? What are they here to express? What is the point of this whole mitzvah? So you can have different targets. The same you could have a person which his mode of life is based on b'chinas nefesh, like the Torah says in Tanya. That his mode of life is neveah. That Inyona is his true is kabbalah to express the fact of kabbalah malach shamayim. But Mele he learned his meichin are based on the code of kabbalah malach shamayim. Learn Torah about the azay debishkeis. You have someone that his whole seder achayim is miyusid on b'chinas hamidus. Mitzad the aves Hashem, mitzad yiras Hashem, mitzad them tuter ma'aseh mitzvahs, mitzad them learn his whole tzir kaima is based on b'chinas. As you have some of those whole tzir kaima is based on b'chinas hameichin. You have kol seder shalshlos. There's a certain Inyona leki which is expressed, or which is the force behind what's going on in anhagas elements. So the Rebbe says here, so that's all. There's also dargas. There's nefesh and neshama chaya. There's a lakus netzir of nefesh, and there's the way the darga of nefesh is meir and machaya mashpia velt, and then there's going to be a seder on hag and velt based on b'chinas nefesh. So the fact that you have today zelu mazeh asolikim, there's a melchemes teiver because mitzad the darga of nefesh, mitzad the darga of lakus, the way it's already a magar from mitzias. So there's an asinas magam for heipach halakus. You see me say to get to a person. Mitzad the lower dargas of the person, mitzad ratzin en l'chadayin l'fnei ratzin. Someone that his which let's say dargan is nefesh is begoli by him, the b'china of ratzin. So he has a tkifis that nothing's going to stop him. Someone that he's more ikra is meichin. So meichin could be several lamas v'ester. So al derech zeh, according to the what darga v'lakus is the force behind the Metzias ha'elam is, that's the way the Metzias ha'elam is function. So, la'asid lavi, what's the chiddush? The chayis is in a velt, the pshutit, the Metzias ha'elam is going to be, its chayis is going to be b'chinas yichida. Its chayis begoli. It's going to be mitzat b'chinas yichida. The mele the Rebbe doesn't go in through all the pratim, but the mele there won't be tevera. The mele the Beis Mashiach is going to be nitzchi. Beis Midrash will be nitzchi. That's not stam. It's not in Inyona b'fnei atzmam. Why is going to be a gola shen achra golos? Because the Eibusher only decided that only 3 times he's going to make Beit HaMikdashes. Only twice he's going to make a Beis HaMikdash and destroy them. A 3rd time he decided that he wants to keep it Leilam Bad. The type of the Metzias Elmas is going to be in a different life. The Ufta Mashiach is that he's Mamshech and Valda Azad Darga, which Legabi this Darga, there's no such a Metzias of a Churban. The Mela, there won't be a Churban. The Shini is not, it's not a technical thing. This is what the Rebbe is about here. It says, Last of it Meir Zem Chines Yechida, which that's the B'china of Mashiach. What's the ufta b'chinas hayichida? Etzem nekudas hachayis shelamayla migeder tzir. Means the nekudas hachayis of lakus, the nekudas etzem of lakus, which is they were speaking here as a chayis of elamis. They was not speaking about the sprach that I was using here. Is la'asdavet meir zayin the nekudas hachayis of ishtashalus, the way it's higher in the whole category of tzir. Means what does it mean? The Rebbe is being shel with the word geder tzir. Not that it's not mitzuyir. It's in the category of tzir. What's the category of tzir? Having a certain mode. So something which in Inyona is pshitis is also in geder of tzir. I'm saying it's not in the whole category of Inyonim which have styles, which have a form, which have a mode. That's the Adgosh here. Now, once you have this Nekuda, hot and out. That's the Tzveita Nekuda. Once you have the Nekuda Sa'atim, we say, if it was something which is Pshitis, it means it was Begeder Tziyur, so then it has its function. Inyona is Pshitis. Ratzin is not Kailal Ali. Ratzin has its, HaChassidus says that Ratzin cannot be Mislavish Nevarim. Keches pratim, seichol or midas kevin or kecharia kevin slavish na ever pratim. They're Inyonim pratim, so they're expressed through an ever pratim. Ratzin is a cause kech. Doesn't have a defined pratistic function. It's the nefesh kamei shehu b'chol lusay is nimshach tanini. So it's not shaykh that tzir prati. It's the person, the way he is drawn. But maybe it's not shaykh to be nimshach in a tzir. It's Shel tzir. Inyona is a keach klali, not a specific way of relation to something. Mash'enk in the etzem, when it'll be nimshach and the chayis, the way this is darge v'chida is the muhus ha-chayis. Means the muhus of a lukus, not the way it's connected to tzir, l'mayla from the whole category of tzir. So it's the amitis hapshitas, amitis ein sof. So the amitis ein sof, so min kuduzu mistafes, kol mayla sapratis, never shochen neshama chay decholos. Mitzadem ifran out. The Rebbe teaches, what's pshat mitzadem? The Rebbe says, ki etzem ha-chayis, who built him mugbal. V'ablik vol shaloi, ein irak v'inin ha-nitzchi, sheinen ha-nitzas v'shinoi hazman, ki kol etzem built him mishtana. It means, it's chay, it's nitzchi, it's not only, you say, it's blik vol, it's not dependent on matzavim. A davar mugbal, so, you say, the fact that it exists, something that has something that has a limited amount of power. So something, let's say, a certain table could last 80 years. It's a mughal, has a limit of how much power of existence it has. So every nekuda that it exists is a davar neisaf. Every nekuda that exists, let's say, the beginning it was able to last 80 years. It lasts after a year passed, it could only last now 79 years. Now it could only last 78 years. So every nekuda that it's niskayim it's not the same kayach. It has a certain amount of kayach. Once it was kayim a little bit, it used out. If someone throws a stone, you could only throw a meter. So the minute it starts flying already, every second is using out energy. There's a certain amount of energy, and every bit that the mice is being nimshach, he's using out chayis. So every second the chayis is mishtani. It's not. There's no one nekuda that's forever. The fact that it exists 1 o'clock is because it has enough kiyum for 1 o'clock. Why does it exist 101? Because it has enough kiyum also for 101. It's not the same nekuda. You say the same reason why it exists at 1, it exists 5 minutes later. No, it's the reason why it exists at 1 because it has the power. It contains within itself the chayis that exists at 1, and it also contains within itself the kayat that exists 1 of 5. It's a davar mugbal. A davar blik vol. The reason why it's 1 nekuda, it's not shaykhis tagbalas. His kiyam lechatchila is not mugbal to a certain midah v'shir. As Zevier is, this is the way they are be'etzim. This is the way things are. His mitzvah is not based on a certain zman, on a certain midah v'shir. This is the first thing that it says. Etzem achayis ibulti mugbal. First, v'ablik v'shalei, ein irak in kamus, shenenu nitfas b'shinui hazman, ki kol etzem bulti mishtanu. שגם זה מהטעם של עושה לו ביור, אז גבי חיים נצחים. עכשיו שנמשך באלום רק מבחינת ספשטוס החייס יש לעניין המיסה. כי מבחינת ספשטוס שייך עניין השיני ועד הפסק וכילויים. מה שגם עושה שנמשך עצם החייס, זה כל עצמי בלתי משתנה. And spashtus is the way the elikus comes in a certain tnua. That's a tnua pratis. You have a tnua. What does it mean shinei azman? I'm saying conceptually, what does it mean shinei azman? That there's different matzavim. So something which Inyona is, you say, let's say, just use this dogma. There's a Beis HaMikdash that existed. Then Rachis is Charib. Why was it Charib? Because what's the Beis HaMikdash? A place where there was, let's say, Gidei Elikus. Or this Inyan, it depends. Kolzman, the Goyim, the Numa So'ilam, were weak. So there was a synagogue for Beis HaMikdash. But B'Shas, the Uma So'ilam, Zayin Gevar and Shvacher. So they were Machrib the Beis HaMikdash. So the fact that the fact there was, it's not the fact that there was a makkah that there's a makkah which is the Lakos wasn't the fact that it wasn't blik vol. Mitzadam, the Welt mitzadatzma is a mitzias, and there's different modes. The world could be in a way that it's neisin makim to kedusha, and the world could be in a way that's not neisin makim to kedusha. It could be this gaber satef, it could be this gaber sarah. So in the darga of Toyer that was Meir, I'm not saying it clear. What I'm saying is that what's a good dogma story is bringing the Zach. You say that you have something which is Metzias Ratchilas Tali, something which is at Seir, let's say, give this dogma, you have Seichel, the Mayach, in order for a person to learn, in which Keli of the Guf is Mislabish Seichel, in the Mayach. The Mayach itself, in order for it to be a Keli for Seichel, the Mayach has to be Eizgeidelt. You have someone wakes up in the morning, or his Mayach is a blurry, he's not a Keli for Seichel. So Seichel is a double prati. In order for Seichel to be in a certain place, the place has to suit the Metzias Seichel. For that, you need comment tonight. Not always is the Makkah, is the Metzias, is the Keli, masim to the air. So if you have an air mugbal, it has a certain mode, and this air is Meir in a certain place. So why is it Meir in that place? Because that place is a Keli suits this air. And since this air is a certain madrega, The order for it to be Meir in a certain Makim is totally in the fact that the Makim is Masim for it. But if the Makim is not going to be Masim for it, the Makim is going to be in a different Eifel. The Beis HaMikdash is a certain, wie versteht man auf Pashtus? It's a place where Shas Yad Yisrael Takifa can be in a Beis HaMikdash. That means it's a certain Indian prati, that Yidden are a certain force Va'ilam. When they're B'Teikef, then you can have a Beis HaMikdash. But if they're not B'Teikef, then you can't have a Beis HaMikdash. I mean, a Lakus in Welt needs certain Tnaim in order for it to be there. When those Tnaim exist, then that Indian could exist. Then it's Davra Mishtana. Something which is an Indian Mugbal, and in order for it to be present, it's totally in the fact that there's a Metzias which is Masim for it, then it can be Mishtana. Mash'ekin la'as, the Etzem L'Kodesh HaChayis is not an Indian, the fact that Mitzad Yechida, the fact that there has to be, that a Lukus is a Kedit, that the Welt is a Kedit for a Lukus, this is that's the only Metzias, that's the Metzias. There is no other Metzias. There's no mode. A Lukus is not a Tzir. This is the einzige Emes. There's not an There's nothing besides for the Eibishter. It's a Nekuda of Blik Vol. It's not mitzad the dark of Chaya. So the fact that a Lukus is das der Emes, it comes in the Tzir of Seichel. Seichel is a certain Tzir. So in order for the Gidei Lukus, the way it is in the Tzir of Seichel to be married in Veld, is if Veld is a Keli to Seichel. If Veld won't be a Keli, it'll be in a different mode. There won't be a Keli to Seichel. So that dark of Chayis won't be married. Mash'enkin, the Chida is the Nekuda of a Lukus beyond Tzir. The Nekuda, the Chayis, the way it is not in a certain mode. The Etzem Nekuda of a Lukus. The Etzem of a Nekuda of a Lukus, legabe that there is no Metzias. Adas the Union. And there's no such a thing. It's not trying to say there's a certain Metzias that suits him, a certain Metzias that doesn't suit him. This Indian is emes b'chol makom ha'makom. His truth is not dependent on a certain seer. He's emes mitzad atzmei. His truth is not dependent on something which is shayches to a certain seer. So his mitzias is dependent on a certain mode. Something which has no seer, his truth is inherent within himself. Maybe it's good to mention a few words about this, but just directly get here, but it's good to mention. What's the you say the lashon you say when you get to the Eibishter is mechuyev mitzias. A nivra is an efshari mitzias. Mashing the Eibishter is mechuyev mitzias. What's the chilik b'zeh? Efshari mitzias means that the fact that this table exists, it's not neveya mitzat the mechus of the table itself. It's not the pshat that the fact that it exists stems from the teichen of what a table is. A table mitzad atzmi darf nicht sein. It happens to be that it's here. A person brought it here. But the fact that it's here is not inherent in the thing itself. Masha'enkin, the Eibishter, the fact that he exists is nevea mitzad himself. So something that be'etzim doesn't have to exist. Mitzad a certain matziv, it's here. So the same way, it doesn't have to be mitzad atzmei, mitzad a certain reason it was brought, it can become ice, it could be cancelled, we could pause it. But something that its existence is nevea mitzad itself. Inyan of tzir means that mitzad mahusai, that's something which is not an atzmi. Something which is not an atzmi is that his mitzias is dependent on certain factors. He doesn't inherently exist. Mitzad etzem mahusai. Seichel. So asvar. Asvar is when you have the seichel has certain tchunis. It's kaltkeit, whatever the agdar of seichel is. When those tchunis exist, then seichel exists. It doesn't exist mitzad its very mahus. Adavar atzmi is a bulti mishtana because his existence stems from its mahus itself. It's not dependent on anything outside of its own mahus. And its being somewhere is not dependent on anything outside of its mahus. It's being somewhere because that's all neveh mitzad its own mitzias. It's not shaykh to shinin. Is it a bisschen reingefahren auf der Seite or? Huh? Good. A blik was any like in an nitzchius. She any nitzes shnei azman. That means something which nachamo in zman to shinui. A mitzias which is together tziyur. So he's mayor in a zman which is a keli for it. When the zman is mishtana, then it's not a keli for it. So then it won't be mayor. Mashake is something which is blik vol, which has no tziyur. Then it's not jacked. If it's mayor mitzat its own accord, not because this zman is masim for it. It's doch not an Indian of tziyur. So if the mayor in a gewisser zman is because mitzat Inyona he's mayor. Then it's not shaykh to chiluk his man. In end shnei yazman ki kol etzem bulti mishtan. Leilam her dominion. That's the einzach. So this is all an atzmi is bulti mishtana because his mitzias is not dependent on a certain mode, and his being is not dependent on a certain mode. And al derech zeh when they get mash'enkin the darga of etzem achayis. So his Metzias is not mugbal to a certain seer, and his al derech zeh's presence is mitzad itself. Not mitzad the tzir, not mitzad the tzir prati of this man. Really, it's not shaykh to Shinu. I'm saying, if you see in Pashta Aces, the fact that there was a Beis HaMikdash and the fact that Yidden were the ones running the world wasn't because this man was naive and that there was a strong melech and he was mizgaber over Umisayla. The reason why Yidden are the Tkifim are because was wird es gale im Welt that Azay is the Remes. That mitzad the Eibish, there are Yids connected to Lakus. If that Nikud would be Nizgale. Not because mitzad the Gdorim of Welt were Mizgaber. Not mitzad Tzir Ha'elam were Mizgaber. Because there was a strong David Melech that's Mizgaber given over Umisayla, the Fari Fan of Mizgaber. Then it can be Mishtana. When there can be Mizgaber, there was Dern Eis Bisamidish. But if the reason why the Yid is Miznatzeach is because it's a Herzach in Welt that there's an Eibish there and he created the world and he was kaveh that Yidden are the Amanifcha. Then Nikud is not Mishtana. Like the Rebbe always said that they're tining to when they go to the UN, they shouldn't tine it that our rights are because of this. These are not the fact that the Eibushter himself gave it to Eretz Yisrael, that's never built in Mishnah. It's not nothing to do with his man. The Eibushter does the case. The Rebbe is saying here. So the first thing is that Etzem HaChayis is bligvol the musik of Zman in Kamos. Elegam be'inyona eichus v'amayla. This is what the Rebbe is saying all the time before. That wants to explain why mitzadis nekuda is mistaif all mailas pratis. Gam be'inyona eichus v'amayla. Shesholim hu betachas hashleimus. Every other darge, a darge which is not sholim betachas hashleimus. It's lacking something. Every darge has a certain mode. If it's a certain mode, it's lacking. Meichin is lacking the nekuda of regesh. Every atzir is lacking anything which is not shaykhis to this tzir. Mashaykin the etzem, which is not limited b'muvan of eichos and ma'ila. Ken sagen as there's a zas sort zach. He's only shaykhis to ruchnis, not shaykhis to gashmis. Any ma'ila is betachas ha'ma'ila v'ashlemis. Sheshonim betachas ha'shlemis. So v'lachein this is being masber why mitzad yichida hot man alts. Because Agdara yichida is not a dargem of shetes, but an inyan which has no hagbala in its mile, in its eichos, in its shleimus. The mele is the ultimate shleimus. So kshatum shach ba'el mispuna seichida v'yichu b'chayis atzmi, you be made of b'tachas ha'mile v'ashleimus. So what's the Rebbe Mevar that the reason why lost the Yisrael Chachamim G'deilim is not because nicht k'bazunder zach. The reason why the Chacham today is bagbala and there's chalishus in the Chacham because Chacham and Tzad is a keach prati and a keach prati has chesrenes. There's tali in zman, there's tali in matzavim, there's bechlal there's chisaron in Chacham. Every darga has a certain chisaron. Masha'ik lost it, as with Meir sein in Welt. The Chacham, the chayis is going to be the way it is mitzad the b'china of Yechida. Mitzad the b'chida there's no agbala, there's no chisaron. It's not a certain mode. It's the Ein Sof. B'meila vet al zayin b'shleimus. To be Chacham in the most ultimate way. Everything in the most ultimate way. Because the Etzem HaChayis is not limited. It's not limited to say that it has to only express itself in beyond Hagbalas. It's not beyond. It contains any quality that's possible the Etzem contains. So he's in everything. And everything in the most perfect form.
So why should we
Huh? You're saying, why do we need a shinu? Yeah. But there is a mile in S. Is there a mile in the mile me'ateva? With Rebbe's masber here, that comes out. There's a certain shleimus. There's a shleimus in the fact that the world functions according to Teva. But there's also a shleimus in the fact of a Gor Zeif and Kepes, not verstehen Tage, according to this beer. According to this beer, but the vart is, with Rebbe's masber here, so the vart is not, it's all a titzah of the fact that the La'aseh will be Meir mitzad darga of Etzem. Mitzad Etzem, there's no chisan. And no chisan on all levels. How
is it only La'aseh Lave?
What do you mean, how's it only? The Etzem, the world's going to live mitzad Etzem. The world's going to function mitzad Etzem. The Etzem exists, but it's not, has no shaykhs to reality.
That's not a call.
You were once a very young boy, right?
Yeah.
And you had the keich hasira that you have now. It wasn't nischadish later. It's not that when a person becomes 15 years old, mitamol, nischadish in keiches. Your nevish possessed it, but it takes time till it is nizgale, till it's. So you say it exists before. It existed, but it had no shaykhs. But it wasn't a mitzias that it was able to be nirgash in the guf. It wasn't formed yet as a it wasn't developed yet in a way that wasn't materialized. I'm saying al derech zeh the other is an etzem, but the Eibusher wants that this etzem should be nimshach in Welt mitzad ha'aveda of Yidden. But that was not going into why the Eibusher does say eingestellt. They didn't create the world in a way that shel chatchila be meir the way Elam Asar mitzad etzem. It should be B'tzad Avedis and Ephraim. So the world Mitzad Atzmi is a Metzias. And there's the way the Metzias starts being Mizach itself to be Mamshech Elokusim Velt. Mitzad Metzias can never go to the Etzem. The Etzem is beyond the whole category of Metzias. There's the way the Chassidus says in the Gate Avram Avinu. There's the Nivra could be Mizach himself according to how much he's able to Mizach himself. But then that's all going to be Bagbala. And then Mitzad Elyon, it's not Chazak. So there's the Metzias, the way the Nivraim are what a Nivra is able to be massive with his Keiches is a Darga Lokusish Shaycha somewhat the Metzias. Masha'ink in the Etzem, which is beyond any tzir, which is really the core of the entire Metzias. The world's going to live from this energy. It's a whole different story. The world literally is going to live mitzad a different type of chayis b'chlal that we're not living bizman hazeh. Bizman hazeh, what's nirgash in Ilonis? Ke'ech hatzameach, inyan prati. Last will be nirgash that there's an etzem which is ein sof b'melis. He doesn't lack the hagbala of not being matzmiach tzmach. So the tzmachim will be one day. I mean, whatever that flows, that's v'shteit in Chazal when you get to the matzmiach tzmachim. Last sit in Ilonis, it won't take time. What's all these things? The ke'ech hatzameach mitzad atzmai has hakbalas. It's a tzir of keich hatzameach and hazak balas. Mashiach l'asad lave, the keich hatzameach it's not a part of keich hatzameach. It's an etzem which is not mugbal in mahus, which is v'tachas hamayel v'ashlevis. So he expresses himself in everything. His atzmius elokus there's no limit in what form he has to be. So it's elokus is going to be expressed on all levels. The meila there's going to be tzmachim and tachas hashlemus. Everything's going to be tachas hashlemus. But the question is, today the world doesn't function mitzat primis hachayis. The reality of Welt. What's the Rebbe saying to Ufta Chassidus? This is not just that Baal Shem Tov came and revealed Torah in Welt. The Rebbe says that the Baal Shem Tov was Mishan Ma'aseh Bereshis. The Rabbeim with his Galas HaChassidus started bringing in, changing the very life of Eilumis. Whether we see it in the Fefim Degen, but Lepoil, the very life of Eilumis started to be Mishtana. It's not only about Megalig Ven Razi Torah. It's more than this. It's more than me Megalig Razi Torah. We started being mamshech that the world should start living from a different place. And there's Kama Inyonim in let's see what the Rebbe says. I want to darshan, but we'll see. Avad, that's the Rebbe's mazbid this.
They're changing the world or they're changing
both. It's all one thing. We'll see. Let me examine the state. Till now they were saying what's going to be when Mashiach comes. Ka'amar le'il mischara shel HaChassidus b'yas HaMashiach neidas mosa. Ich can push the Inyona. Kol HaChidushim sheChassidus chitsha. All the new Inyona which were nischadish through Chassidus. There'll be new Inyonim there. It's not separate things. The reason why there's Hagbolis in Welt today is because it's not Meir the Etzem HaChayis. The minute the Etzem HaChayis is Meir, so everything the way it is inside, everything inside the Etzem is a whole different Inyan. So it's not going to be Mechadish this prat, it's not going to be Mechadish that Chachamim G'daylim, and separately we're going to be Mechadish that Garz Evim Kevis. When life is Mitzad the Etzem, so B'meila Chayis are B'tachas HaShlemus. B'meila the Odom is B'tachas HaShlemus. So Al Derech Zeh, B'negei Chassidus. Kol HaChidushim sheChassidus chitsha. The Rebbe goes through B'ktzara B'teira, Havas Chelik HaSeit Shel Degili. Keila means there's more. Chassidus Mechadish more into it. We'll see in the Hemshech HaKuntres. The Rebbe is here marchiv much more Vas Chassidus Atuf Getan. Keila Chelik Havas HaSeit Shel Degili. Ba'avedus Adam Anagel Frim Mishor Sadin. Shini Teva Amidis. B'chol HaSeilam Eseiris Mis Alphas. Einam Chidushim Shkol Echad Ve'echad Mischadish Shu B'fnei Atzmi. It's not that the Baal Shem Tov came, we have to wake up the world from its faint, from its dreamingness, a treseltan, yidden, or we have to be mamshich primis ateret dartin in seichel. It's not separate in Chassidus is chayis chodosh, chayis atzmi d'bchinas yichida. The kasher chayis chodosh zen nimshach shel Chassidus, nimshach ba'ilam. We'll skip the brackets a second. His chilu kol ha'inyan ha'elam lichas v'chayis chodosh. It says everything. Everything started living with a different energy. Chayis atzmi, b'meilin is chatshevem kama v'kama inyon. When you have the etzem is the tachas hamayla v'ashleim, there's going to be new inyonim also. But what's the Rebbe saying over here? The Baal Shem Tov was mamshech on new eir in Welt. Mitzad this new eir is, this is not the same thing, but I think I heard a word this, I don't remember if I read it or heard it, but that there's a certain, nothing to do with this, I'm just but Imitzrat gesagt that someone asked the Avnei or something. There's in technology, it's chidushim, it's electricity. I don't know which kufa was coming out of electricity. New giluim and chachmas and science was big chidushim happening. So someone asked him that in Torah there's no Yesach Chidushim. There's the same Chadash Merach Chidush Vinsker Epis. So the Arezer said that all these Chidushim in technology that's a Teitzah of the Yinika that they get from Chiburim that were written Shalei Lishma. Means the Torah is the Makar Elam. It's the Chiburim written Shalei Epis. But the Rebbe says in the Sikha that the new is Paschus and Chochos Elam is Neveh mitzad the new mitzad the Gilei Primis HaTorah. The Zer connects the fact will be is Mayonas Tahim Rabba with Arubas HaShamayim. The reason that there's going to be this Paschus of since Chadash Gvar the Rebbe is speaking not only in Velt of Torah. Poshet in Mitzias HaElam there was new Inyonim Nischadish mitzad the fact that the Rabbeim were Mamshech Erach Sidis Ba'elam. Like the Rebbe says in that Sikha of Chilik Tezvav. That there was that the Satzatan anyway, I don't remember the pratim there, but the fact that there was a Paschus in Chochmas HaElam is Neveh mitzad the Gilei Primis HaTorah. Huh? Industrial? I'll go upon him, but what's the Rebbe saying here? The Rebbe on Mamshech knew where? Where does Mamshech given? Toras HaChassidus HaKlolis Adei HaChakal Shem Tov. Herr Magid B'chulu. V'char Toras HaChassidus Chabad Adei Neshama Chadasha Kvei Kedush Chakad Merazagam B'Asim Chavagula. Everybody knows this, but the Rebbe is Mitzayin in Neshama Chadasha. The Sefer Sechas Tav Shnei Dal Rebbe is in Neshama Chadasha. Uriel Gud Toras Shel Shiurim B'Pirish Inyona Neshamas Chadasha. I have the Mekayres up here, but Azay, what's the Pshat Neshama Chadasha? I remember the details, but there's once a Vikuach between some Yidden. What's the Pshat Al Rebbe is Neshama Chadasha? Does it mean that all the other Neshamas were once here Begilgul, and were being Misakin Chaser is not Neshama had? So Shagan Al Rebbe's Neshama was never here before. Or Neshama Chadasha means not that it was never here before. That state in Kabbalah that all the neshamas were nichlal the nishmas Adam Rishon. He's the neshama klaus Adam Rishon. Yaakovinu. They're the klal of all neshamas that were nimshach later in Bel. So all neshamas were nimshach from the darg of Adam Rishon, which is the darg of Chaya. The Alter Rebbe's neshama was nimshach from a higher darga than regular neshamas were nimshach. Neshama Chadasha from a higher darga. So the Rebbe's mitzayin till Torah Pirish in neshamas Chadasha is dort in Zokter that lo asla is going to be nimshach nu neshamas that were nimshach. It's not as the neshamas are nimshach from Chinas Adam Rishon, which is Chinas Chaya. Lo asla is going to be nimshach from Chinas Yichida. As he Taish Alter doesn't say what pshat neshamas Chadasha is. So the Rebbe's mitzayin till Torah Shel Shiurim where there is mevar what's pshat neshama Chadasha that is nimshach from the darga of Yichida. And the Rebbe is mevar that to explain what it means Alter Rebbe is neshama Chadasha. So the Rebbe is not neshama Chadasha that is neshama was never here before. That it's nimshach from a higher darga than all neshamas were nimshach. As if the Alter Rebbe is mevar the loss of it. The neshamas are going to be nimshach from a higher darga from Chinas Yichida, which is not where the sheresh and neshamas were. This man has said the Alter Rebbe's neshama was a neshama from loss of it. He said that when they asked the Rebbe, I don't know exactly how it worked, but there's a vikuach and someone asked the Rebbe that night, maybe it's a Yichidus night or someone asked. The Rebbe said, what's the negef given in Aveda? What's the pshat? The Rebbe didn't answer. But here, the Rebbe is mitzayin mefurish to this inyan. I just want to read this lashon because it's interesting. I just thought a point to have this Kuntres with them. Mitzayin the Rebbe's lashon could tell. It says, "Re'el could tell Shir Shiurim." We see in order 45. So the Rebbe is listening to the Rebbe's lashon. Lo asid love yum shchun neshamas chadashes shelamayla gam mimadrega sichida sheba'adam rishon. Last the nimshach nu neshamas higher than the darga of yichida means the highest darga of neshamas which is nimshach from Adam Rishon. Last is an hecher neshamas. Gemvura b'sefer gegulim da ki yeshnei min neshamas. Eisam shenichlu ba'Adam Rishon, which is hem eisam shaleim nichlulu vel in neshamas yeser gvayim, and there give me nimshach last lavi. So of them bring the Rebbe the Zavart from one of the older Chassidim. Not that I remember him, but the HaChassidus of Shmuel Ber Barisever. So at gesagt that different nischayos, but basically that all tzaddikim, everybody, one nusach that he said that Alam gezindigt, everybody sinned, or even no one was kfiyah kavana. The only one that was kfiyah kavana was the Alter Rebbe. So was the beer because all the neshamas were nichon Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon not ever going to tzadas, so it was pale up gam when you get to all the neshamas. The Alter Rebbe wasn't nichal the nishmas Adam Rishon. It was hecher davon. Neshamas yichidus. The Alter Rebbe is the only one that was mechaven. Eppes says it. Anyways, by Kaplan, that state as a new in as God's loss. Huh? Was yeah, the Rebbe is saying that it's a new Indian. Why doesn't get to the Pnim?
So that was the neshama kolos of his chassidim. So are they part of him?
All of them. Was the Shel? Everybody's. It's a different Indian. It's another Indian. Another Indian. That's cholas Indian. That's cholas. Means the pearl of the Alter Rebbe is connected to the premise of the Baal Shem Tov. The pearl of the Lashon, the Alter Rebbe called the Baal Shem Tov Zayder, even though the Baruch Hu was the Neinikol, but the Rebbe took the Primus of the Baal Shem Tov. The mitzvah of Primus of the Baal Shem Tov was, what I'm saying is, the same way I was saying before, when you get to a person, is everything existed. The Etzem existed. The question is, was it existed in a way that it related to Metzias? That it was Bizgalus. The Baal Shem Tov started the Sneitz source of the Gila of Pchinas HaYechida. The Atzmius of that Inyan Gufa, there's Dargas. I'm saying the Baal Shem Tov didn't express yet. It started a taste of a Darga which is beyond Tziyur, beyond Prot. But Amitas Inyan, so genommen. Later Chassidim say that till Der Ashvi Betzim is the Galus in the Inyan. But yeah, what do you say?
Is it like Chai and Chida or just whatever you don't people say?
No, within the Inyan of this Neshama Chadasha, the Pearl we speak these Dargas, but it's, the Rebbe is not going to get to the Rebbe. Yeah, but this is a whole different another Inyan. You heard the meaning. So the Rebbe is saying here, Azay verstehen mir is, there is Torah. Chassidus is Chassidus was in order to bring obviously Yisrael. The way we understand it always is, Chassidus came to uftan Sachen by Yidden, let's say. Taking Amidis, make sure that the Bali Tamid Chacham should be Mazals and Namaratzi, this Indian, that Indian. The Rebbe doesn't mean those Inyanim here, but this and that. The Rebbe is saying here that the same way La'asud Lavi is what's the Ufta La'asud Lavi? Not this Indian or that Indian. So that only been Meir and in Welt, the way it is inside the Etzem. Inside the Chiduk HaChassidus is, in general words, the way it is inside the Atzmis, inside the Etzem of Elokus. Not inside a certain Darga of Elokus. The way Welt is inside the Etzem. And Mitzad the Etzem is a whole different story. The Etzem is not Shel the Prat. Verkehrt, the Etzem is Toras Shleimus. That Gilui at ongeben Meir, that's Teres HaChassidus. So it's Ein Sof, Bems. And that does it ongeben, they were Mamshech in Welt. Huh? We're going to see. Let's see what the Yechida Be'efin Klali means, the source of everything, the etzem of everything. Which because the Rebbe is speaking about in that signal, because the Rebbe spoke before that the Rebbe is speaking all b'yachas to Elam. There's going to be uftu and velt la'asid lavi. Where does this stem from? Because you're mamshech and velt, it's core. The Rebbe is going to be mamshech. We're going to see. The Rebbe is going to continue. The Tamid Abba Shem Magid. No, he says who's v'chulu after the Magid. It doesn't want to say. We don't want to stop. We don't want to stop at a certain generation, so we stop at the beginning. We have to stop somewhere, but they don't want us to. You know what I mean? No, that was just. The Alter Rebbe gave on him. Yeah, okay.
When's the false like the Mishach Leilam? Like you saying it's like I'm making Mashiach, but we're right now. What's the?
Oh, I'm saying Mashiach will the world's going to breathe differently.
You say race is not race.
It's chilu, whatever that means. It's chilu. What angeben Mamshas and the Ereva. It's chilu. The brothers Inyona Avedis Hashem which are nevei mitzad Inyona which are basically giving God loss as well. You say, what does it mean? There's darkness in it. The Rebbe said that the previous Inyona, I'm saying the Rebbe spoke about that from Arefin and the Egin, whatever the Shiurim are, but the Inyona were already nimshach and velt in a way that it doesn't need any additional amshach in velt. It's only that mitzad the mekabel different sutra references. I'm saying there's darkness being mamshach this chodesh of La'asid Lavi to be mamshach in velt in a way that the world should become suited, that should be lived from this darga. This kama dargas, the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, the Alter Rebbe, until I'm saying the Nasi Ashvi. I'm saying there's dargas. La'asid Lavi, that's going to be the world. We're not to learn the Kuntres. That's going to be the reality of the world. The reality of the apple is going to be the way it is inside the Chidus and under Let's see what the Rebbe gets mad for. Gam bitam ze nimshal Teres HaChassidus l'shemen rozen de rozen. The pashtus, I mean that the Rebbe brings in the Rebbe. I'm not going. I get durch the pnim. Just we shouldn't get stuck in the middle of the Indian. But the middle Rebbe says that there's in Torah kama dargos. There's lechem, there's yayin, mayim, yayin, and then there's dargos of shemen. So in pashtus, the difference between why is Chassidus called shemen and not yayin? Yayin is rosin, and shemen is rosin dir rosin. The liquid. The oil that's in the olive is more concealed in the olive than the wine, than the liquid in the grape. So there's almost the seidus of Chassidus are nimshal from Raz and Dir Raz. But the Rebbe gives you a different beer. Why Chassidus is nimshal to Shemen. It says, Gami tam it's noch a tam. But there tam steht nicht. Another tam. Why is there Chassidus nimshal to Shemen, Raz and Dir Raz? The Rebbe says another word. Shemen and Rukudas are tamtzis, essence shall call over. The Rebbe says two things. Every single nivra in this world you could extract the mineral of oil. I guess that's what it's called. So let's say wine, which is certain the texture or the liquid of wine, you can't extract it from every single chaymer. Mashiach, every single chaymer shaba'ilam, barzel, eitz, I don't know, any type of chaymer which exists, you could extract shemen. And the shemen is from the core elements of every chaymer. Every chaymer has kama chalakim, I don't know this stuff, but there's the texture, and every chaymer, it's the shemen is the core of every chaymer. As ich steht, as I learn, this is what as ich steht. Kuntres hat tamtzis essence shel kol davar.
Essence is like an English word, or?
Yeah, but it's a Yiddish word. It's used in HaChassidus, essentia. It's in the middle of used Lashon. But essence means there is. I'm saying is we're living in this world. Let's say. So there is, each nivra has his specific characters. Face water, this is soft and this is hard. Then there's the basic makeup of the reality, not the different ways this reality expresses itself. You have a soft thing and a hard thing and a light or heavy, whatever. These are already, I don't know how they're called, but I want to show my maratzis over here on the. But there's different tchunis. But then there is the very reality itself. The chaymer behind all the different surahs, the nature of the reality itself, and the shemen is I guess it's not nimdad in those chalakim of the chaymer that's soft or hard or heavy or light. It's from the chaymer agashem itself, not from the tchunis pratis of the chaymer. I don't know. I'm just saying that's the state. Du hast gelernt again. You're looking as if huh? I'm saying what I'm trying to say is that there is different halakim in the Rebbe said that it's the essence of the chaymer, right? I'll make fun of you back. What do you mean? I don't understand. There's different halakim in the Metzias, right? Its weight is not its etzemahos. Its weight, its whether its texture is not its etzemahos. That's the different tchunis of the thing. But then there's the I'm not sure about that. Exactly what but so shemen is an extraction which stems from the chaymer guf etzem hametzias itself, not from its lightness, or not from this. You could extract different things. So the fact that you could extract dirt and I don't know how it works, but you could extract from certain things, certain minerals. So you could take things from the chitzenistic part. You could take the minerals from its tchunis. You could take the minerals. You can extract certain things, let's say the coloring from the wood. That's not from the guf etzem chaymer adavar. That's from a chitzenistic tchuna in the wood. Mashiach, the shemen is extracted from the basic elements of the existence. You're saying Dal say this is a much more mufshet ke'im. We're saying after the nivra is morkiv, every nivra the way it's morkiv already. We don't know any science, but the nivra that's morkiv, you can extract this liquid of oil from the and that liquid is extracted from the basic elements of the mitzvahs. You start speaking about atoms with these achin, you're not speaking about the mitzvahs the way it's experienced leinin. The Rebbe Rettich speaking the mitzvahs the way it's mitzvah electrons. I don't know exactly. The mitzvahs kameshu, you can extract oil from every mitzvah, and this element is extracted, or this mineral, from the basic core of the mitzvahs, not from its tchunis pratis. You understand what I was trying to say or not? Okay.
What's the scientific term for this?
I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't know. I didn't look up any science. I'm saying with a touch what the words mean. That's not what it means. Leiza pirush. We're not. You're saying that is already the nivra. Amitis advarim is the other thing. Meretach is up the efiana darg. Then I was saying pashik pshute. So I never extracted oil. I don't know, but it's extracted from that element of the chayfetz, not from its pratistika properties. I don't know why you just did a little bit, but I'm not trying to explain the phenomenon. I'm trying to explain what it says here. That's good. Okay. Umizem muchrach says like this. Umizem muchrach that shmitzad shemen. We're being medam HaChassidus to shemen. The fact that you could extract oil from every type of texture, from every type of chaymer, oil, dirt, metal, every single type of thing we extract oil, is a raya that oil is not connected to any tzir prati. If oil related, let's say, to a hard material, or oil related to a soft thing, So if oil is something which suits softness, soft chaymer contains oil. So how could you extract oil from a hard, solid chaymer? So the fact that from any type of chaymer you could extract oil shows that oil doesn't relate. It doesn't relate to any specific tzir. If you say certain things from a cotton, you could extract as a sort of chaymer. Because cotton is a safe thing, so you could extract something which could be sheikhen in a soft thing, which suits a soft thing. Wash'eg is something the hard. That you can't take from something that's soft. Oil is a sort of chaymer, you can extract from anything. That's a right that oil is a sort zach which doesn't relate to any specific type of mitzvahs or any type of specific tzir, tchuna or element. But lepa you can extract it from anything. Means it expresses the nekudas hametzias that's the yisait for all the mitzvahs. But dugmas, like they were saying, this musig you have in every darga. They were saying there's different elements in the mitzvahs. There's the darga the way it comes into tzir. There's azat tzir. Then there is the nekudas ha'inyan. Not what form, the nekudas ha'inyan, which is really the nekuda of everything. The shleimus of an etzem is the Eibishter, but as the Eibishter gavot, and in every form of mitzvahs, you have the nekudas hadavar, the etzem nekudas ha'inyan, and you have the way it comes in different modes and different angles. So shemen is the nekudas hatamtus of the mitzvahs. B'meila we see tchunas and shemen. Mitzad echad, it doesn't have shaykhs tzir prati because the nekudas ha'inyan the way it's beyond tzir. But it's nimtza b'chol davar. Why? Because the etzem is it's the yesod of everything. It's not a darga. It's not a certain. It's not a mode. That's the core of everything. Nimtza b'meila nimtza b'kel. So the Rebbe says that's why Chassidus is called shemen. He said this nekuda. Chassidus can't relate to, and you say there's Torah, there's pshat, remes, there's say there's a chveis an eved, a maskel, a zasortid, a zasortid. Chassidus cannot be mizdame to anything. As no shaykhs to any tzir prot. Nicht zu midis, nicht zu meichen, there ain't so. The nekuda of elikus. The nekuda of a yid. Not a yid the way it's connected to a certain tzir. The nekuda, the mohus of a yid. Le'idach, this mohus is the core of everything. Von em stammt alt. He's the premise of everything. That's why Chassidus is called Shem. But Dover zeh, there's one of the Rebbe does this, huh? I'm saying Atzmi is not a darge in the Inyan. The core of everything. I'm saying there's defined reality, and then there's the core of reality, which doesn't need to have, which is not a certain mode of reality. He's the core, which is beyond saying a certain mode of existence. What's the etzem of chayis? Not life in a certain form. The core essence of life itself, which contains and is not limited in any form. This Inyan, this aspect of Shemen, that on one hand doesn't relate to a specific form. Le'idach, it's the pnimis of everything. Mizbate gam b'digla de Torah. Ad balach l'mais. This whole Kuntres is based there. It does it a few times in this Kuntres, but it's really the nekuda that jeder musig was vert gered is also a nigla. I'm saying just if you're learning the Kuntres, what does the Rebbe say? The first thing the Rebbe starts off speaking in Sif Aleph, 4 Shiurim of HaChassidus, but that's the Rebbe should say in HaChassidus is Ein Sof. So Meila kann nicht masber sein. Al derech zeh nigla, achilik. But every single thing the Rebbe mentions here, you have a dogma of this in nigla, because the Rebbe wants to bring out Chassidus is the core. Any Inyan that's Muslim in Chassidus has to reflect itself on every darga. So if something was certain things that are atzilus, it's true in a mystical world. It's a mysticism. Mysticism is of a plane of reality. Then there's the basic level of reality. There's the mystical level. Then there is a pashta mensch left. You say every single thing in the world of mysticism expressed itself when a person goes to eat. What's the shaykhs? 2 different levels and 2 different type of life. Chassidus is not a darga. Chassidus is the premise. It's the core of everything. So every Inyan of Chassidus has to be reflected on all planes of reality. Add until practical halacha. So yeder zach the Rebbe says how it's expressed in basic halacha. Every Muslim the Rebbe speaks of it. Because halacha is the way Torah comes in the most basic and concrete way. How do you live lepayel mamish? Not a theory, not an adag of theory. A day in Torah, which is not lalacha lemaisa. When you're going to live in actuality, which is the most hagbala, you're going to live lepayel. What are you going to do lepayel? That's halacha lemaisa. Then there's certain things that, in theory, they're right. There's sidan art and seichel farzeh. But practically speaking, you don't go according to them. Chassidus is true on every level. Biz so this nekuda that Shem and Azam Sartzach, which on one hand doesn't relate to any tzir prati, but because it doesn't, why it doesn't relate to any tzir prati? Because he's beyond the tzir. He's the nekuda sa'inyan. He's the core, which is really what's behind all the different forces. Because he's not limited in a certain mode. So he's the core. The fact that Shemin is an expression of the core, this nekuda is expressed in Allah. Who's that one does? The halacha is that Shemin eini mis'areh b'shar mashkin. What does this negate to which halacha? Tumah. Yeah, so Shemin is not mis'areh. Every other night you face wine and water, it's mis'areh. Shemin, it does basically every time the oil stays on top. Shemin is not mis'areh. Huh? What did I just read? He stays bavdala. Why? That's the first prat. The shemen stays removed. It floats on top. The second prat is that mifafehu b'chol davar. If shemen doesn't stay, you say, everybody learns here, but there are certain things. Let's say tzli, so it stays, so it can be a kedei netila. If it's a chticha shmeina. And so the teva of adavar shaman is that once it's reared under zach, it's going to be nimshach at kedei kula. Azay, in order for the bliya to be misarev in the entire chaticha, to saturate the whole piece, you have to do bishul. So bishul is ma'arev the tam the kol chaticha kula. So the mayim is ma'arev it, and also that it's not lav dafka the bliya is called also by chshumen it's lav dafka by bashva, but the mayim is vavel b'chol. But I'm saying I remember which day it's the Rashi or the Ri, but if it's miktsase b'techa reitev, so it only goes, it's not mis'areh b'kulei. No? But according, by shamin, if the chaticha touched the davar shamin, so mitzad the shmeinus, mitzad the oily of the thing, it's chayder, it doesn't stay in the external part of the chaticha. The chaticha is basar, and the chaticha shmeina is ungerir to chaticha basar. So the bliya is not going to stay, even if it's sli. And there's no reitev which should be ma'arev, which is forcing the bliya to reindringen in the entire chaticha. You have a massive chaticha of meat. But if a davar shamin b'teva, it doesn't stay. If it gets in touch with something, it saturates it fully. If a davar shamin gets in touch with some metzius, mitzad the tchuna of the shmeinus, it doesn't stay in its place. It saturates the entire metzius. So a davar shamin is mispashit b'kulei. A davar, not a tuchtichas khushis with bishul. So the mayim is ma'arev the bliya in the entire chaticha. So that's why you need it's good. Mashiach a davar shamin. The nature of shamanus is as a bleibnish. It's not by tzli. It's kedei netila. So the bliya stays. It's kumtarain where there was a touch, where there was a negia. So there's heat. So there's a bliya, and it stays in the chitzenius akeli, in the chitzenius chaticha. I don't know. Everybody holds you need daf kedei netila by tzli, or. Huh? What? That's the word you need to have kedei netila. Okay, no, that's what you learn, no? The found kedei netila. The zichar is it. Allah. Huh? You know what I'm talking about?
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, certain things there's days, whatever. But shumin. So why? Because when it touches something, it doesn't have the nature that where it goes, it cannot stay removed. Shemen, when it comes somewhere, it cannot stay removed. It saturates the entire thing.
But not mashkin.
No, it doesn't. You say mashkin, it doesn't mix. It doesn't lose its identity. It stays shemen. But you say it doesn't affect the mashkin. I'm saying, but what? It's not mafafeh b'mayim. So if shemen goes into water, there's going to be water that's going to stay fully clean from the hashpah of the shemen.
Yeah, that's
it's not going to be affected by the shemen.
The tulium touches the shemen and the mayim doesn't.
It's not affected at all.
If you mix oil and water,
Right, but it's.
If it mixes, it goes everywhere.
Yeah, also this is mefei b'chodavar is shuman fats and halacha fats and oil is the same thing. Same oil a davar shamin, but it's cold. The davar shamin that goes into.
How the two sides the same?
What I'm saying is the davar shamin.
It doesn't come into the water, but if it comes into somewhere, then it goes.
Yeah, but I'm saying, by I don't remember the halachas, but by tzeinin, the davar shamin tzeinin, you don't say favor chol davar. Huh? Only chayim. Okay. Here, the Rebbe is saying here, so if there's achat ongerir, the choret should means I'm saying could be if the shemen was nivla target. By mayim, by tzeinin, shemen, there's no blia, so the shemen stays its own identity. If there was a blia, so then it doesn't stay in bachutz. If there was chayim, the other chayv started, yamot, it becomes the favor holder. Yeah, l'chein. Oh, so l'chein im shel teres achsidus l'shem. Ki gam bo shtei tchun l'seiv. Mitzad Inyona ha'atzmi eine mesareves b'shum davar. It's very strong aces. Teres achsidus. Mitzad Inyona ha'atzmi eine mesareves b'shum davar. So bleibt aber zunder Sache. It doesn't get, you can't, people, it doesn't mix. You try to mix it, it doesn't mix. So bleibt zunder. So Sachen, we can say vermischen a bisschen. There are certain things you could mix it a little bit. Someone's going to explain the svara mishchol varaya and he's going to mix it with psychological inyanim. You could mix the two inyanim. You can never mix Chassidus really with something else. I'm saying it doesn't. Huh? The Shem is fair. Einem is a reves b'shum davar. That's the nekuda zechai shel malim yisba. Why? Because it's the nekuda which has no shaykhs tetzir. It's the nekuda se'inyan. The nekuda se'inyan. Any time you're relating it to a certain mode, the Indian Kameshu is going to stay b'avdallah. Le'idach gisa, Chassidus changes everything, and if it touches something, it's gonna go there till it's core. You say Chassidus, why isn't every single tchum in Avedis Ha'adam is this Indian, and in Meichen in every tchum, if a yid is angered geworden from Chassidus, so Chassidus mitzativei punkt is about davar shami mitzativei. He saturates the entire piece. He's cheder in there. He permeates every single aspect of where he goes. He doesn't stay. He doesn't keep his calm. If he errs an angekrach and nachefetz, he's going to affect the entire piece from beginning to end. Adar says it's the etzem. The etzem is it doesn't stay removed. It's by definition not a removed thing. He's the core. If he's the core, if you touched him, it's gonna be mahapech me'etzem ha'yisay. The whole mitzvah. Mispashet esim afas b'chol davar ken iskele. Huh? Nachamol. I guess das ist alles verbunden mit Stammes. Alles verbunden. Das ist nicht kein Pashto Inyon.